But you got a guy like this, he's just speaking to talk, okay? Anyway, 855-400-7282, WMAL in Washington. Chris, go ahead, please, make your point.
Yeah, how much farther to the left does the left think the Clintons need to be? I mean, they're dealing with the communists in Russia. Back in the 90s, Bill Clinton was selling military secrets to the Chinese. I mean, these people are embedded with communism.
Well, I remember what happened under Bill Clinton. It's why we are under the threat of a nuclear strike by China, and there's a man's name attached to it. He was the head of the Democrat National Committee. Oh, I wish I could remember his name. He was the single largest donor to the Democrat Party. He had started with a small parking meter company in the Bronx, and through political wheelings and dealings, he wound up owning Loral Space and Technology. Anyone know the name? Once he took over Loral Space and Technology, this is while Bill Clinton was president, he helped the Chinese use American rockets to launch satellites into space. And there was a big argument over it at the time because we said, wait a minute, you can't use American technology developed with American taxpayer dollars to launch satellites and give that to the Chinese because they'll eventually switch it over to military and they'll threaten us. And this man, I don't remember his name, I'm going to find it for you, said, oh, no, the Chinese will never use our rocket technology to launch anything but weather satellites and communication satellites. Well, as you well know, they soon used our rocket technology to launch ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, all because of Bill Clinton's DNC. Does anyone know his name? Because you're going to win a free copy of Countdown to Mecca. He has a name. He's still around. He's a nice grandfatherly type. He looks a little bit like Madoff. Same type. I'm sure he's a big, big deal in his house of worship. I'm sure when he walks in, they whisper about what an important man he is. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? 855-400-7282. We'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. See, today, any thinking American would be in the streets saying that we believe in truth and justice and the real American way, and Hillary and Bill Clinton should be indicted and investigated for the sale of this uranium ore and the donations to the Clinton Foundation while she was Secretary of State. But we looked up Bernie Schwartz. He has a name. He's still living. Bernie Schwartz is the man who was embroiled in the campaign donation scandal way back in 1998 and the transfer of missile technology to China that occurred in 1996. He was found not guilty in the campaign finance matter after a so-called Justice Department investigation. You know what that means, right? I wonder how much money was given to which foundation for that one. So Loral was clean as a whistle. Schwartz did nothing wrong. Schwartz is a lifelong New Yorker. Schwartz is married to the former Irene Zanderer. Schwartz has 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. God bless them all. They're such good people. I guarantee you they're loved by their neighbors and in their house of worship. I guarantee you when Bernie Schwartz comes into that synagogue, they look at him and whisper what a great man he is, because he was exonerated from this alleged transfer of missile technology to China. How could a man who grows up in Bensonhurst with almost nothing, what a genius, and look what he made of his life. Look at that. To go from a parking meter shyster to that level with Bill Clinton, it's enough to make you kvel. This is the kind of people that built America. During the breaks, I'm watching the ads here in Florida. People were saying you ought to put this on the air. I saw an ad for a doctor. It reminded me of the doctor my father warned me if you went in for surgery to remove organs and send them to China. That was 40 years ago. I never saw such sleaziness as in Southern Florida. There was another ad for a diamond guy in Boca Raton on the TV. I almost died. I would not only not buy a diamond, this guy his name may as well be Fugazi. I mean, his last name may as well be Fugazi. How do these people survive down here?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Uranium One became very active in acquiring uranium assets actually in the United States itself. By 2008, 2009, they were a particularly attractive target for the Russian government. They would acquire what would amount to 50% of projected uranium output by 2015.
That's the author that everyone in the world is paying attention to, Peter Schweizer, in his forthcoming book about the Clintons and the money and the scandals. And this is the uranium scandal that in any nation would have brought a demand for immediate justice. Some countries, the government would have fallen because of a thing like this, because it means the government permitted the Russians to buy the uranium right out from under our nose, so to speak. And it was done while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. It's a huge scandal. It's probably the great. I don't know of a larger scandal in my lifetime. I really don't. I know that emotionally, when I read about it this morning in the New York Times, cash flowed to Clinton Foundation as Russians pressed for control of uranium company. My immediate thought was, this is the kind of story that led and will lead to a revolution. This is the kind of story that led to the Russian Revolution. But it really won't in America. You see, the difference between this nation and Russia of 1916 is that the people are fat here and drugged. The Russians were skinny and starved. In other words, the corruption was so bad under the Tsar, and the systems were so broken under the Tsar that the people were hungry. No one's hungry in America. They're fat, overweight, drugged, entertainment, Disneyland, cruises, stuffing their faces, drugs, entertainment, sports. So they don't even know what's going on. They could care less. But this story will affect the thinking voter. And I don't know what percent of the population that votes is thinking, but I would think that the percent of the population that votes that is thinking wouldn't have voted for this rotten, stinking candidate to begin with, because this is nothing new. There is a sea of filth that anyone could have seen going all the way back to Arkansas. She has never been qualified to be anything other than what she was, which is a carpetbagger and a grifter. And so we're not shocked by this, but I am shocked by this. In other words, on one hand, we're not shocked, but on the other hand, the magnitude of it is overwhelming. Why is the magnitude of the uranium story overwhelming? Because it has national security implications. If you sell off the uranium in our own earth to Russia, at the same time she's giving speeches calling Putin Hitler, she is allegedly approving the transfer of this uranium company to Russia. Do you understand this? Where was Lindsey Graham, that fraud, that two-faced, phony Republican pinko? Another one whose skin is too pink for me. And that's a metaphor, by the way. Don't take it in a racial way. Another one, watch out for the pink skin. It's a giveaway. If it's pink, it stinks. Let me put it to you that way. They're a little too clean for me. I don't trust the clean men like Orrin Hatch, who just approved Loretta Lynch. I don't trust guys like this. I never did. They wouldn't let me in their clubs, and I wouldn't join anyway, because I'm more picky than Groucho Marx ever was. When he said famously, any club that would have me as a member, I wouldn't join, it was a very funny joke, wasn't it? Take a look at John McCain now, that crazy maniac. The man belongs in a straitjacket. A maniac. Almost caused a revolution in Egypt. Almost brought about a war between Russia and the United States, and this maniac is still in the Senate. None of them ever quit. Don't you understand that? So if you expect this uranium scandal to bring Hillary to the realization that she's unelectable, you're mistaken. And the reason you're mistaken is you have no idea what psychosis is. I've told you 1,000 times that anyone who runs for higher office, basically there's something wrong with them mentally. I don't care how good they are. There is something wrong with anyone who wants to be a politician. Or they're so corrupt that they have no other way to make a living. The human beings I know who are very competent, usually they have a profession or a business. They have no desire to be in politics, which is why we get the level that we get. That's to start with. But when you see corruption like this, you have to ask yourself, how can a country survive? how could a country survive? The only one of the bunch on the Republican side that I don't think is as corrupt as this would be the two of them. Rand Paul and Ted Cruz cannot be this corrupt. It's impossible. Rubio looks to me like he's as corruptible as any of them. I don't trust Rubio personally. I don't know him, but I mean, I get a bad feeling off Rubio. I think he's a sleazeball. He's the kind of sleazeball only Rush Limbaugh could back. The other two, all right, I would say I don't think there's any corruption in them. There are reasons I'm not attracted to them, but that's my own personal opinion. I would vote for Scott Walker until I hear something more from him. But we're focused today on the stink coming out of the Clinton sewer. And in a sane nation, there would be a demand for hearings today. We talked earlier in the last hour that this is nothing new, we said. It goes back to Loral Space and Technology. When Bernie Schwartz, what a wonderful person. Are you kidding? Came from humble Jewish background in Brooklyn. And look what he made of himself. A man starts out with such little in life. And through hard work and genius, look what he made of himself. So what if he sold technology to China that was allegedly giving them the advantage to bomb America with ICBMs? It was found nothing but right-wing lies. It was put out by those evil anti-Semitic right-wingers. I mean, he was cleared by the Justice Department. He's a wonderful grandfather in Brooklyn. Lives in Manhattan now, not Brooklyn. Wonderful man. If you look at him, looks like Madoff, but a clean Madoff. There was nothing to that scandal about Loral Space and Technology back in 98. There's nothing but anti-Semitic right-wingers who did it to him. The same anti-Semitic right-wingers that were doing it to Hillary and Bill right now. Even though they're not Jewish, they're sort of Jewish. I mean, when Hillary and Bill are picked on, they're honorarily Jewish because they're victims. They're being picked on only because of their religion. Even though that's not their religion, it's sort of like their religion. They're persecuted. They're persecuted because she's such a good person. That's what we're talking about. Will it stop one moronic woman from voting for her? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. What are you talking about? You will do it. You don't know it, ma'am. Do you know what we're talking about here, about the sale of uranium from the United States of America to Russia and approved by Hillary Clinton's State Department? Who cares? Who cares? They will do it. Now leave me alone. I'm heading off to the salon. I'm getting a touch-up. This is the country. Everyone votes. Everyone's equal. That's why we have Obama as president. Next, we'll have something worse. So let me take some calls. WMAL in Washington, D.C. Bruce, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm out here in Morgan Hill, California, KSFO. I worked for Loral Space and Range during the time period you're talking about. And one of the, when that story broke, one of the high-level program managers swore up and down that nothing was transferred. However, the rank-and-file engineers, when they came back, told me that indeed there was some guidance material that was transferred. But to
the Chinese, and this is while Bill Clinton was president and Bernie Schwartz was the single largest donor to the DNC. That's the whole point of the story in telling it today. Because there's nothing new under the sun with these sleazeballs from Arkansas.
Bernie Schwartz acquired Ford Aerospace. When Ford II died, his daughters didn't want to have anything to do with the space business. So Bernie bought Ford Aerospace for pennies on a dollar. And then when things got tight and the defense system was going downhill, he sold it for a huge profit to Lockheed Martin. And the guy always showed up with his entourage late at night.
He's a wonderful man. It's anti-Semitic of you to even say things like this. I think he should call the ADL on you.
Okay.
I really think this is a case for the ADL. I mean, you're picking on a nice Jewish man, Bernie Schwartz. He would never do anything to harm America. You know, you're implying he's a profiteer. That's right out of Shakespeare.
Well,
Listen to me. I got such contempt for this type of person. You have no idea. I ran away from people like this. I hate them more than you could ever imagine. They're people without countries. I hate them. Do you have any idea that I never say it on the radio? They make my stomach turn. But I'm bringing up Bernie Schwartz because it went on then and it's going on now. So then they sold space technology to China and they bought off the Justice Department and said he did nothing.